The 2014 World Cup produced a semi-final that nobody will ever forget. It was chaotic and yet also ruthless. And it began with 30 minutes that were so humiliating it amounted to a national tragedy and left a sporting wound which might never fully heal. This is the story of Brazil 1, Germany 7. When host nation Brazil progressed to the semi-final of their own tournament, they could afford to feel quietly confident. In the first knockout stage, they'd survived a stern examination by Chile to win on penalties, and then against Colombia in an enormously physical encounter, a fabulous David Luiz free kick saw them prevail 2-1 over what, to that point, had been one of the teams of the tournament. That game cost them Neymar, who would miss the semi-final with a back injury. But with every round, momentum had been building, and the emotional a cappella rendition of the Brazil national anthem ahead of their games depicted a country surfing a wave of optimism towards footballing destiny. And why shouldn't they have been confident? Brazil had not lost a World Cup semi-final in 76 years, and had not been beaten in a competitive match at home in 39. Enter the Germans. Since qualifying from their group, they'd needed extra time to beat Algeria and had scored a single goal to squeeze past France. Nobody could have foreseen what followed. Now, Brazil actually started off quite well, with Marcelo enjoying the first real chance of the game. But after 11 minutes, everything changed. Thomas Müller was left hopelessly free from a corner, and he volleyed past Julio César. It was the beginning of the most extraordinary 18 minutes in international footballing history. On 23 minutes, it was 2-0. Miroslav Klose tucked away a rebound to become the highest goal scorer in World Cup history. And almost from the kick-off, it was 3, when Toni Kroos beat César at his near post and then celebrated by holding his hands to his face in disbelief. The fourth Germany goal followed 2 minutes later, when Fernandinho was uncharacteristically robbed of possession just in front of his own box, and Kroos again tapped home after a 1-2 with Sami Khedira. And at 28 minutes, it was 5. Khedira turned scorer after Mesut Ozil had tied the Brazilian defence into a knot. Now, tactically, it was an extraordinary collapse. The Brazilian midfield was non-existent. Their defence, which was admittedly without captain and linchpin Thiago Silva, seemed confused and desperate, and was constantly chasing back into position. Emotionally, too, the Brazilian players seemed incapable of processing the crisis that was developing around them. And that wasn't just on the pitch. As the television cameras cut to the stands, the reactions of the home fans, with their replica shirts and painted faces, grew more extreme with each goal conceded. It was an extraordinary spectacle to witness. As the Athletic's Daniel Taylor, who was in Belo Horizonte reporting for The Guardian, recalled, there was a point after 0-0 had raced to 0-5 in the space of 18 minutes when the goals were coming too quickly to take accurate notes. There were people screaming, literally screaming, beside the press box. The first line of Taylor's match report described the game as the night Germany removed the crown from football royalty. It might even have been more humbling. Remembering his team's dressing room at half-time with a 5-0 lead and a place in the final secure, German head coach Jogi Löw recalls urging restraint. I didn't want anyone to make a fool of the Brazilians in front of an audience of millions. The respect the Brazilians showed to us across the country was enormous. And for me, it was completely unthinkable that we should humiliate them or to show arrogance towards them. The second half passed in a blur. Germany would score another 2 goals, almost apologetically, and Oscar would also pull one back. But the damage had been done long before. At full time, several of the Brazilian players were inconsolable. More than one of them was in tears, as the Estadio Mineirão hummed with boos and the whole world shook its head with disbelief. I was watching at home with my wife, and after the third goal went in, she started to cry, said Tite, who led Brazil in the 2022 World Cup. That started me off. The 7-1 is like a ghost. It's present. People still talk about it. But the more you talk about it, the less likely it is that the ghost disappears. If you liked today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you did like it, you might be interested in How to Watch Football, Tifo's illustrated book. It's 52 rules for understanding the beautiful game on and off the pitch, and it is the perfect holiday gift. How to Watch Football is out now in stores and online. See the link in the description to find out more, and thank you for watching today's video.